Saturday night, I could not sleep. Sunday night, I could not sleep. There is a good chance that Monday night, I will not be able to sleep either. Let me just say this. I don't mind losing, okay? I am a competitive person. I have certainly lost and won my fair share of things over the years. I am, probably too fearless in many of my choices, okay? I hate when people lose because of cowardice, because of incompetence, because of stupidity, because of lack of self-confidence in themselves. And what I saw from Ryan Tannehill, and I know there's lots of things you can talk about in that game against the Bengals. The thing that I would question from a coaching perspective is not quarterback sneaking it on third or fourth down in the fourth quarter with 6.5 minutes to go or so, and getting stopped like the Titans did. But ultimately, Ryan Tannehill turned the ball over 3 times in interceptions. The rest of the 7 quarterbacks in the divisional round combined turned the ball over with interceptions 3 times. Furman, I went and looked. Ryan Tannehill has averaged in 5 football games 150.8 passing yards, 1.4 touchdowns, 1 pick. In his last 2 home playoff games, both losses, the team has scored 13 points against the Baltimore Ravens, ended on an interception to a backup wide receiver. And this one where they scored 16 points ended up on an interception to the most covered guy on the field, Nick Westbrook-Ikhine. He threw 2 touchdowns and 4 picks in those 2 games, a combined 29 points, 14.5 points. And what's so frustrating about this, I've been to every Titans playoff game that has ever occurred in the last 22 years or whatever the heck it is. I don't know that I've ever been more angry because other playoff losses, you felt like, okay, maybe we can get it back next year. I have zero faith that anything is going to change about Ryan Tannehill. It's like a movie that you already know the ending for. I despise his performance on the field as a human being. He may well be a great guy, but when you get paid $100 million, you have an obligation to perform at a high level. He has failed. He should be cut. He should be kicked to the curb. There is no way that he is capable of winning a Super Bowl. I don't believe that any coach, I don't believe that any of his teammates, and I don't believe that any fan out there who has watched him play substantially believes that either. And so I am done with him. He needs to be gone. I have no willingness to watch mediocrity. Furman, I was thinking about buying a box of 20 tickets for the Titans. I am finished with that idea. I will not support mediocrity. I'm not even sure that I will go to a Titans game if they trot Ryan Tannehill back out on the field next year.
That's a lie.
I'm serious.
That's a lie. I'll make the over-under a half a game, and you will get guilted by your kids to go see it, even if it's not for the Titans, because they want to see one of the opposing teams that's coming to town.
My kids might be the only reason that I end up going. I have zero interest otherwise in actually going to watch this team at all. I despise Ryan Tannehill, and frankly, he also dodged all media interaction today, which is what cowards do. He hasn't taken ownership of the fact that everybody else, Furman, played amazing. 9 sacks, the defense covering for his failures time after time. The entire team balled out like crazy, and Ryan Tannehill is the single reason they lost. I hate him.
You know what? I can't really argue with most of what you've laid out there. I mean, you look at the way that game went, and if you tell me the Titans defense performs at the level that we saw, they win that game going away 90% of the time if it's not for turnovers. And despite Ryan Tannehill's ineptitude early on in that game, whether it was the interception to start the game, the interception to start the second half, they still have an excellent chance. He has to put together one drive to get them into field goal range to punch their ticket to the AFC Championship, and they were unable to do that. When I look at the way that that game played out, the one other area that I thought was a little bit disconcerting, and I get being loyal and trusting your horse. No Titans fan who's watched Derrick Henry run at the best of his abilities as a dominant force could have taken away from that game that Derrick Henry was close to 100%. I was surprised that Deontay Foreman only got 4 carries as he showed a lot more burst. explosiveness, the ability to cut. And I really don't think the Bengals feared some of the power for Derrick Henry because there was no shake. And since he was so slow getting going on a lot of those runs, some of the carries that would have been 4 or 5 yards on Saturday would have been at least 15 yards plus. And I think the Titans had to realize at some point during the contest that Deontay Foreman was going to give them a better opportunity to hit the home run, much like we saw on the big running play. But there's no doubt about it. I think Titans fans have every reason to be disappointed, maybe 57 million of them knowing that Ryan Tannehill will be back under center next year for the Titans, because I can't see anybody taking on that contract for a roster that's so close to being a team to beat in the AFC, especially when you look at all that young quarterback talent. There's no reason to believe that Titans can get through Joe Burrow. They can get through Patrick Mahomes. They can get through Justin Herbert. They can get through Josh Allen. I think the Titans are one of those teams, given the division they're in, they're always going to be competitive, but it almost feels like AFC purgatory, knowing you're close, but not so close, and maybe saying that they can climb the AFC mountain is the definition of a Sisyphean task.
Furman, I watched, and we'll get to this, the Kansas City Chiefs in 13 seconds get in field goal range. I watched Josh Allen absolutely painting like a Picasso. I mean, an unbelievable performance. I watched Matthew Stafford with 40 seconds left drive the length of the field nearly, hit Cooper Kupp for a field goal. I even watched Jimmy G on the road make a drive to get a field goal.
Don't discount my guy. Gets discredited all the time. Does just enough to get you where you need to go.
All right, so the Titans, even after they had gotten stopped on that 3rd and 4th down when they didn't sneak the quarterback, they had the ball with 2 minutes and 40 seconds left at home against an inferior team, and they had 2 timeouts, and they managed to put themselves, because they really didn't trust, I really believe, Ryan Tannehill, they put themselves in a position where he just throws the ball up for grabs into contested territory. The one thing that you cannot do, right? Worst case scenario, you go to overtime. The way the Titans were sacking Joe Burrow, I think the odds of Burrow and the Bengals driving the length of the field and getting a touchdown in overtime were really, really low. The only thing you had to avoid doing was throwing an interception, turning the ball over, and he did it. But moreover, the Titans just didn't trust him to be able to get the team into position. I'm thoroughly disgusted. I don't know how long it's going to be till I honestly, and this is embarrassing, I will be angry about this game for the rest of my life.